Right, let's talk about one of the trickiest things for any new teacher to get right, the dreaded reading lesson. It can sometimes feel like you're steering a sinking ship, right? Well, today we're going to change all that. We're going to look at the official Scholar blueprint to turn those lessons into confident, successful voyages for your young learners. So, let's get stuck in.
You know that feeling, don't you? That sinking feeling in your stomach when you look out at your class and just see a sea of totally confused and frustrated faces. We've all been there, or at least we've all had nightmares about it. So what actually happens when a reading lesson goes completely wrong?
Okay, let me tell you about Alex. He's a trainee teacher, probably a lot like you. And he had this class of really bright 10-year-olds. He planned a reading skills lesson. What he got instead was, well, a total classroom catastrophe. And it all began on page 28.
Sounds innocent enough, doesn't it? Turn to page 28. But with just these 5 words, Alex unknowingly set his lesson on a collision course with disaster. He'd handed out this pretty dense story, told them the page, and then just said, "Read," in silence. What happened next? Yep, a complete and utter textbook shipwreck.
Picture the scene. It was just chaos. Within minutes, his learners were completely lost at sea. You could literally see them, little fingers pointing at every other word, faces just crumpled with confusion and frustration. They were just drowning in all this new vocabulary. The lesson, it had well and truly sunk.
So why? Why did it all go so wrong? This really gets to the heart of it. Think about it. When we read in our own language, we have this massive mental dictionary, right? We can just decode things instantly. But for our young learners, that dictionary is still being written. Their brains have a much more limited capacity for this stuff. We call it cognitive load. Alex basically threw them a novel when all they could handle was a short story. It was just too much.
Later on, after licking his wounds, Alex had this light bulb moment. He realized there's a huge difference between just testing if your students can read and actually teaching them how to read.
And this is it. This is the absolute game changer. He wrote this down after a chat with his director of studies. I cannot just test their reading. I have to teach them how to read. See, our job isn't to just throw them in and see who sinks and who swims. It's to give them a life jacket, a compass, the skills they need to navigate the waters all by themselves.
So what was the big mistake? It really boils down to this. He chucked them straight into the deep end with absolutely no preparation. Nothing. He didn't get them interested, he didn't warm up their brains, he just expected them to manage.
But here's the good news. You don't have to repeat Alex's shipwreck. Because at Schola, we have a life raft. It's a structured, super reliable solution called the Schola Reading Blueprint.
Okay, so what is it? It's really simple. It's built on 4 clear stages: the hook, the check, the teach, and finally, the apply. Honestly, think of this as your map, your navigational chart for every single reading lesson you teach. It's going to guide you safely from start to finish.
All right, so let's roll up our sleeves and open up the toolkit. We're going to go through each of these 4 stages one by one with some really practical activities you can literally use in your classroom tomorrow.
First up, stage 1, the hook. This is your pre-reading stage, and honestly, it might just be the most important one of all. Everything you do here, before your students even see the text, is what sets them up for success. So what's the point of the hook? Well, it does a few really important jobs. First, you're getting them interested, sparking their curiosity. Second, you're tapping into what they already know about the topic. And third, and this is a big one, you're pre-teaching a couple of those really tricky words that could totally trip them up later. You're basically clearing the path ahead.
And here's a brilliant, super simple activity for this stage. Just read the first line of the story out loud. That's it. Then ask them, what do you think happens next? It's amazing how quickly it gets them hooked in and gets their brains whirring.
Okay, on to stage 2, the check. Now, this is the first time the learners actually see the text, but, and this is key, it's a very controlled, very specific kind of reading.
The goal here isn't to understand every single word, not at all. It's all about getting the gist, the general idea of what's going on. This is so important because it gives them a quick win. It builds their confidence right away, showing them, hey, I can do this, before they get bogged down in details. So a classic activity here is a quick skim read. You could give them a few headings on the board and just ask them to read super quickly to match the headings to the right paragraphs. Or even simpler, just get them to read and check if the predictions they made in the hook stage were on the right track.
Right. Now for stage 3, the teach.
If the hook set the scene and the check built their confidence, then this, my friends, is the main event. This is where we go from the big picture to the nitty-gritty details. It's where we actually teach them how to be better readers.
So here they're reading for specific bits of information. But more importantly, this is your moment to teach them actual strategies, like how to guess the meaning of a new word just from the clues in the sentence around it. We're trying to move them away from that laborious word-for-word translating and turn them into independent, clever readers.
And please, let's ditch the boring comprehension questions. We can be so much more creative. How about asking them to draw little emojis in the margin to show how different parts of the text make them feel? Or here's a great one, challenge them to summarize the entire text in, say, exactly 21 words. It's fun, it's a challenge, and it really makes them think.
And finally, we've arrived at our destination, Stage 4, the apply. This is the post-reading bit, and it's where the learners get to take everything they've understood and actually do something with it.
The whole point of this stage is to make the reading matter to them. You're letting them give a personal response, which really cements their understanding. And crucially, it bridges the gap between a receptive skill like reading, where they're just taking information in, to productive skills like speaking or writing, where they have to create the language themselves. It's the show me what you know stage.
So what could this look like? Well, for speaking, you could get them in pairs to act out a little role play of what they think happens next in the story. Or for writing, get them to write a short summary, but in their own words this time. Both are brilliant ways to check they've got it and let them get a bit creative.
So there we have it, the Schola Blueprint. And as you can see, it's so much more than just a lesson plan. It's a whole new way of thinking about your job as the captain of your classroom's learning voyage.
All right, let's do a super quick recap. The big takeaways. Number 1, always hook your learners in before they read. 2, get the general idea first before diving into the detail. 3, remember, your job is to teach reading skills, not just test them. And 4, always finish up by letting your learners apply what they've just understood. Simple as that. If you follow this blueprint, I promise you, you can turn any reading lesson from a potential shipwreck into a really successful, empowering voyage for your learners. You've got the map, you've got the tools, so the only question left to ask is, which text are you going to navigate first?